What's up? Welcome to another video. I recently got to visit Singapore, which is really well known for food, clean subways, and business. If you ever get the chance to visit, I would highly recommend going because it's a really cool country and it has a really amazing airport. Now, this is also the place where I started my Warhammer journey around a year ago, and that would be here at Gamosaurus Rex. This store is located in Upper Thompson, and this place has been a blessing to me on my Warhammer journey. I bought my first minis here, which are these three starter set Space Marines right here. In the store, I bought these guys, and the person working at the store that day helped me assemble them, showed me how to clip everything out of sprue, glue them together, get rid of mold lines, like all the basics. And then he even primed them with crack blue for me, which the whole process took easily over an hour. So he was really helpful to me, especially because I was a brand new Warhammer collector. I had never really done any modeling before. I think this is the great thing about local game stores. Warhammer isn't a solo hobby, and being introduced to the hobby this way really left an impression on me and showed me that community and friendships are a big part of why the Warhammer hobby is so great. I think that this experience played a big part in me wanting to create a Warhammer YouTube channel. Now, this year on my revisit, I wanted to go back to Gamosaurus Rex, and this time I got the opportunity to talk with one of the game store owners about Warhammer in Singapore. I'm going to be using a Black Legionary to indicate when Rensis is talking. Rensis is the game store owner that I got to chat with, and I'll be using a Death Guard for me so you guys can stay clear on who's chatting. So, with that, let's jump into the interview. I hope that you guys enjoy. Rensis, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing all right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into Warhammer in Singapore?
Well, my first exposure to Warhammer was back in my junior college days, so at around 16.
Okay.
When I was 16, through Dawn of War, right, the real-time strategy game made by Relic way back in the day. So it was basically one of the games that my dad had lying around.
Hmm.
I booted it up, I played it, and I was like, wow, this universe is pretty unusual and pretty awesome, compared to like most of the other more typical games of that era that you've seen. And at the back of the CD case, yes, and for all the young folks out there, games used to come on physical CDs, right, with physical cases. Right at the back, there was this little insert that was like, "Did you enjoy the game? Check out the real thing." And that's how I learned that this was like a big franchise of tabletop miniatures, and this was relatively dawn of the internet period. So I started looking around. By stroke of luck, I managed to meet a few friends in national service a few years later who knew about how to get into it in Singapore, and that's where I got started.
Back then in Singapore, was it more not as popular like the Warhammer scene, or was it not as developed and things like that?
I would probably say that Singapore's growth of the Warhammer community just mirrors the growth of the Warhammer community worldwide, just probably in a much smaller scale. Right? So way back then, I think it's more of like you had some friends who knew the friends who played a bit, did the hobby. Weren't many stores who sold the product back then. Then over the last, I think about 15, 16 years since I've started, I have watched it steadily grow, or rather, maybe I've just taken more continuous steps into finding out more of the community at large. But it's definitely been around longer than just when I've seen it. Right, it does go back at least I think several years before when I first found it. So again, it's similar to just the global growth of Warhammer, just that on a much smaller scale.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So I'm curious now, like, what army do you collect and why?
I collect Chaos Space Marines as my main Warhammer 40k collection. Then branched out from there to Chaos Demons, Chaos Knights. Then when I decided, when the Chaos trim got a little bit too overwhelming, I went back to Death Watch initially. Then branched out to Space Wolves. That's most of it for my 40k collection.
Out of all those armies, do you have a particular favorite? Would that just be the Black Legion or the original Chaos Army that you started with?
Yeah, it'd just be. I'd always return to it, no matter the edition, as like my first pick of what to play. Then based on what's good or what's fun, given like the current editions rule sets, I'll branch out a bit. Right now, Shadow Legion from the Be'lakor army is, I would say, probably the most fun I've had playing a Chaos army in general.
How would you describe the Warhammer community in Singapore?
All good folks. As people from all walks of life, we've got kids who are still in, like, I think the equivalent would be high school. We've got young adults in university, got working adults, and we've got older folks who will have remembered playing Rogue Trader,
Okay.
way back in the 70s.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, within the Singapore community, have you noticed any like specific trends within the community? Like what factions are most popular, or is the community generally more competitive or casual, or is it just a mix of everything?
I like to think deep down Singaporeans are just naturally competitive.
Okay.
That being said, casual games happen all the time. No one I know really goes all out, even on like pickup games, unless they are practicing for a tournament or like an event. And that usually just comes down to like, hey, I'm practicing for an event. Do you mind being my sparring partner? It's communications. Like talking to people solves like 9 out of 10 problems in modern society.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So you talked a little bit about competition. So are there many big competitive events here, or maybe like painting competitions? Is that a common thing in Singapore?
So Gamers of Rex does run monthly Strike Force events, the 2,000 point Warhammer 40,000 events. Painting competition wise, there have been a few in the past, but right now we're working just more on a showcase thing, right? So it's just here's the theme of the month. Bring your models that you want to show off, and then there'll be some amount of judge voting, community voting, but the price it's quite low stakes.
So there's no like golden demon in Singapore.
Not officially, I don't think. When we did work with Comic Con in the last couple of years, we did do bigger scale painting competitions where there would be a more formal judging metric. It would be on display, and there'd be like vote gathering from the convention goers. That's been done before.
Very cool. So, how do you see the Warhammer community growing from here forward in Singapore? Do you see it significantly expanding, or do you see it, staying relatively the same? I just wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Oh, I definitely love to see it expand. I do think that Games Workshop having a big like multimedia presence has definitely helped grow the strength of Warhammer as a property in geekdom, I'd say. But even just mass appeal, like you definitely encounter more folks who are at least aware of what Warhammer is nowadays as compared to like the 10-15 years ago. So I definitely am quite optimistic about seeing the Warhammer community grow.
Do you think like the game, the latest like Space Marine 2 game, you think that had an impact on the growth in Singapore recently?
Yes, we did have. I've definitely seen a few folks come in and like, hey, I've played Space Marine 2. I want to check it out for real. I've seen folks who are like that. Yes.
What advice do you have for a new hobbyist looking to get into Warhammer in Singapore?
Definitely take it at a pace you can manage. The best way to learn is by doing. But it's usually important to just internalize whatever you're doing at the time as well. So it's always a process of like, if I'm not after your first go at painting, let's say your very first Space Marine, you'd be like, okay, what can I do a little bit better? You'd be like, oh, I got a bit messy over like part of the trim, so usually I just need to steady my hand a bit better. And usually that usually leads you down various rabbit holes of just techniques, methods, different materials you can use to improve yourself gradually over time.
Yeah, like it's very easy to, if you're just getting into the hobby, especially if you see people online and they're painting these ridiculously amazing models, you may try to jump into it and paint at that level like immediately, right? But is it like you're saying that like it takes time?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like any other hobby. You don't pick up like a tennis racket and expect to play like Federer like straight off the bat, right? Any kind of hobby that involves any amount of skill and practice, it's the same here. Right? Like,
Yeah, gotcha. In Singapore, what Warhammer game modes are generally most popular? And based on your experience, what factions have you seen to be most popular in the general community?
so the most common you'd generally expect would be Warhammer 40k match play at 2,000 points. That's like the global standard of play that everyone adheres to when they're not specifically looking for like a more casual or narrative focused format. Same thing for Age of Sigma. Age of Sigma's 2,000 point match play format. These are all kind of like the standard ways of play, the established format. So most folks, will do that. It's the easiest to just pick up and get straight to. But we've also got plenty of stuff like Kill Team. Kill Team's also very popular here in Singapore. Old World and Horus Heresy are picking up because of the attention that Games Workshop has given them in the last, I'd say, like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Crusade was also very, very popular here in Singapore, right? And because most folks here really did like the the role playing game style progression that you'd get on your units. A lot of the missions are generally more flavorful, and as long as you can kind of live with it's not quite balanced. It's a bit more asymmetrical, but it's more cool. It's more awesome to see have like play out in the moment.
No, that makes sense. Um, so, so 40k being the most popular, generally, what factions do you see are the most popular? Like in Singapore, is it like the U.S. where the loyalist factions are most popular and people play Xenos and Chaos maybe not as much? But I want to get your thoughts on this.
Oh, I could toss a pebble and hit a Space Marine player easily. But I suspect that's going to be true no matter what part of the world you're in. Other than that, the other real popular factions that I've seen, at least for 40k, would probably be Tau, um, Necrons, and Guard. These are the factions that a lot of folks in Singapore own. Whether or not they're consistently played, like some folks do have multiple collections, but I know there's quite a few. Those are the ones that I see a lot of, like on the tables at any given day.
Nice. Out of the Chaos factions, which one do you think is the most popular here in Singapore?
Probably Death Guard. If I'd had a wager, mechanically, Death Guard are probably I think, most forgiving to play among the Assaulted Chaos factions right now. It also helps that they were one of the starring factions of 8th edition's launch box. That was a Dark Imperium, I believe. So you'd have quite a few folks who started 40k during that period as Death Guard players, right? The folks who picked up Dark Imperium or one of the derived starter sets, splitting it with a friend. Yeah, so you've got a lot of folks who started Death Guard during that time period.
Do you have any projects that you're especially proud of?
Yes, so back in 9th edition, I made a Death Watch army, which you're probably going to see right now. And what I did was I sat down with what I was going to do with them and basically free-handed I think it was like 30 plus of the second founding and onward chapters for each of the Death Watch Marines, just one by one, and they're all unique. So one particularly fun thing that I remember doing when it came to this Death Watch project was trawling through every single codex and codex supplement I could find of like multiple editions of the Space Marine rule books to find all of the different like side chapters that appeared over the years and making them come to life.
Is there any message that you would like to give to the wider global Warhammer community in general?
Death to the false emperor. Signed, a heretic.
There we go. I agree with that statement. And that concludes the video. Special thanks to Rensis and Gamosaurus Rex for having me at the store to talk and get some footage. Rensis was a really cool guy and definitely very knowledgeable about Warhammer. If you're ever in the area in Singapore, I would highly recommend checking out their store. The community there is active. They have Warhammer events, painting showcases, and a ton of Warhammer stock. Even on the random weekday that I visited, they had more than one game going on, one of which was an old world match. If you want to check out their website, I've added their store link in the video description as well. And one more thing, in the Deathwatch army where Renz is free-handed over 30 chapter symbols, which is seriously impressive, one of the Space Marines has a non-canon chapter symbol on his pauldron. I'm showing the army here on screen again. Let me know in the comment section if you can spot which Marine has the custom chapter symbol. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and as always, I will catch you in the next one.